Nixie aren't afraid of light. They use it to track who's on their lake.
Everything stops. My mouth falls open, and yet no words come forth. All I can do is look at him, searching for answers I can't bear to ask for. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Death by Pony, and today we're going right back into Lake of Voices. So without further ado, let's hop in. I stare up at the guide, utterly shocked by his scoffed statement, and I open my mouth to speak. However, it hangs agape as I struggle to find the words. How could he do that? Why would he do that? Was that the reason they released me? Because they were trying to grab him instead? Margaret placed a gentle hand on my back in an attempt to comfort me. The guide still looks unhappy with the situation. He stoops down at my eye level.
We have to move on. If he wanted you to survive so much that he threw himself to the Nixie, then you should respect that. Relight your lantern.
I gaze at him with empty eyes, and let my gaze fall back to the boards. My lantern lies there deserted where it landed after I reached for Lou. I refused to relinquish it while I was in the lake because I had the nerve to hope I would make it back. If I had known it would be the cost of his life instead, I'm not sure what I would have done. But I have an idea. When I do not move, the guide extends his long, slender arm to retrieve the lantern. He gingerly offers it to me. I awkwardly pick up my sword and return it to its hilt. My limbs shakes as I take the proffered lantern. Margaret takes out her matches and offers them to me since I'm soaked from the previous skirmish. I take the match from her and swipe it to ignite. I relight my lantern. It glows with light once more. Without another word, the guide stands. I force myself up onto my feet to join him. He turns around and faces forward, his coat swaying behind him. Carefully, he makes his way across the unsteady boards once more. I watch the guide listlessly as he crosses. I can hear Margaret's voice vaguely in the background. She's speaking gently to me. However, no matter what she's trying to say, her words just come out muffled and distant, like someone underwater. The guide makes it across and turns to face us. It's our turn now. Margaret and I tread onto the bridge carefully, stepping over the broken section. This time, no boards snap. Make it to the other side in one piece. Bittersweetness overcomes me. Even though I'm relieved that no one else succumbed to the same fate as Lou, the previous scene still echoes in my mind. I wipe a tear from my eye. Why couldn't it have held firm the first time? We spend a moment looking at each other and then at the boards, no one knowing what to say. After a pause, the guide starts walking again. We must follow. Continuing on or staying behind with Lou's to be with Lou eternally are the only options. The guide is right. He wouldn't have wanted that. I keep walking down the path, lost deep in a foggy despair, first Bamele and now Lou. It's difficult to come to terms with the sickening feeling. It sinks to the bottom of my stomach and settles like thick bile. Being here feels as though I'm the swirling center of an endless nightmare. I reach down and lightly touch the pouch that houses the shell. All I have left is to keep moving forward with heavy steps until it is truly, finally over. I caress the pouch and force back the gush of tears that threaten to return. Eventually, the guide slows to a stop in front of us. He waits, looking forward quietly before turning around to face us.
Take my staff. I will need your lantern. Our path is blocked.
I clutch the lantern tightly.
Are you going to throw it?
No, it may not be poised to attack yet. I will blow out the light and draw nearer. Then I will relight it once I grow close enough to the Prowler. That should force it to retreat without having to risk losing one of our remaining lights.
I'm surprised at how desperate the plan sounded. However, I do not object to it. I have no alternative to suggest.
All right.
I offer my lantern and he trades me his staff.
Stay here. The Prowler will not act rashly as long as it sees no light close by. It will be on guard if you approach.
I'm confident over the matter, but then the guide stares at me intensely. The gaze leaves no room for argument. I take the guide's staff. Margaret and I huddle around it together and watch as he disappears into the misty darkness. The two of us dare not speak. We wait in tense silence. Ooh, reading like this gets to me. Suddenly, I perk up what I think is the sound of the guide's voice. The sound comes abruptly, startling me. Worry nags at me as I wonder what could have happened. Margaret looks at me, unsure and slightly bewildered. Try to help. Okay, now I gotta save again. The guide's silhouette returns before me. Once I draw close to him, I notice that he's standing oddly still. I look past his shoulder towards the prowler, and the air is snatched from my throat. Despite being partly obscured by the fog, the figure is in a twisted black mass. It's a familiar, vibrant color.
Lou?
Kika?
He replies with my own name. I gulp against the bulging lump in my throat. A shock overtakes me. He seems equally startled to see me. Tears begin to drip from my eyes and flow freely down my cheeks. I take an incredulous step forward. He's here! I sniffle as I get a good look at his face.
I'm so glad.
His eyes drift towards as sorrow overcomes him.
Please, don't be. I can't make it. I'm hurt.
He wipes his face with his hands and stares at me helplessly. My eyes widen. Of course he must be after what I have to do something.
I can't accept that. I will carry you.
I peer through the mist and get a better look at him. The dark and the fog makes the night practically opaque. However, I wince empathetically as I realize it looks like he's missing a finger. I can only imagine what the rest of his wounds look like. Lou's voice grows hoarse with emotions as he takes in the sight of me.
You need to stop trying to save me, Kika. You can't. If I make it to the other side, I'll still die.
He lets out an uncomfortably out-of-place chuckle.
And it's not even because of my injuries. They're going to kill me for what I did. There isn't a way out. I'm trapped.
He wipes himself again. Admittance leaves me stunned. Lou may have made mistakes, but could they truly justify an execution?
It's fine, though. I'd rather you remember me as someone who was able to help for once and just forget about seeing me here than continue making everything worse by staying. Please leave.
I won't give up. There has to be a way.
I clench my jaw in mounting frustration. It doesn't matter what will come when we reach the other side. How could he just expect me to let go of him again, after everything that's happened? Lou looks pained. Seemingly, he has run out of arguments to hurl at me. He then begins to rapidly mumble to himself. I can't make out the words from here, but I catch bits and pieces of it from where I'm standing.
Something. There has to be something. Anything.
He seems to come to a conclusion and laughs, and sniffles sadly to himself.
There isn't, is there? You found me again, and I can't change that.
Suddenly, Margaret comes near, lured by the commotion. Lou backs away from me, shuddering.
What's going on?
Margaret almost trips over herself, the situation in front of her. She gapes at me, alarmed. There isn't any time to inform her. Lou seems to be in shock. I lock my eyes onto him and harden my voice so it's undeniable.
I can tend to your wounds. We'll relight the other lantern, and then we'll be able to keep moving forward. It isn't too late.
Lou grits his teeth, but his face is full of more determination than I've ever seen. Hope rises in my chest.
Don't bother. It won't help now.
The delicate feeling growing inside of me completely dissipates. He's committed to giving up. Lou pauses to interject another awkward laugh. This time, it's almost unsettling.
Nixie aren't afraid of light. They use it to track who's on their lake.
Everything stops. My mouth falls open, and yet no words come forth. All I can do is look at him, searching for answers I can't bear to ask for. Lou steps out of the all-consuming darkness and finally gets a clear look at his wounds, blood seeping from deep gashes and cruel bites all over him, staining his clothes and coating his quaking body. He doesn't make any attempt to hide it or wipe it away. It's pure white. Sound erupt from the lakes. A wild, frenzied gurgling comes from near surface, and Nixie are responding to Lou's action. He turns to the lake and glares at the water.
Be quiet!
In an instant, their chattering ceases, and the area falls silent. He lets out a harsh breath, continues leering fiercely into the distance, his whole battered body visibly tense under his nearly glowing blood. Oh my god, is he a Nixie? I can't do anything. I can't even move. The suffocating tension of the scene is broken by a clang on the bridge. My will is finally placed back onto my own hands. I swing my head around towards the sound. The guide dropped my lantern. He's unblinkingly stunned at the development, but suddenly a glassy calm comes over and envelops him completely. He stares at Lou with an unidentified expression.
So, everything I've done has been pointless then.
Before the guide can even think about saying more, Lou abruptly interjects, voice vibrating with desperation.
No, it hasn't been.
His calm completely shatters as though it has never been there.
How?
Lou meekly gazes back, not prepared to actually defend his statement.
This isn't over yet. Maybe there's still time.
No, there isn't.
The guide parts with most of his previous emotions and deftly reaches into his cloak and retrieves his set of matches. I'm suddenly drawn from the floating either uncertainly back to attention. I gawk at him wildly. Surely he couldn't intend on setting the bridges on fire right now. I disbelievingly reach out to him, yet I'm too late as the matches struck and dropped at his feet. I recoil sharply at the flames, immediately grow around him, and start to crawl in every direction. My head swerves to Lou and Margaret and then back to the guide. The fire has already engulfed the bridge to cut us off from each other. He makes no attempt to flee. I merely cast a sorrowful glance at him through the growing black smoke. He doesn't return my gaze. He only looks straight ahead with dead, empty eyes. I wrench my attention away from him and onto Margaret and Lou. I shout over the crackle of the already waist-high flames.
We need to go!
Lou catches my gaze. The determination fills his eyes. Margaret is grasping and wheezing from panic. She shoots me a solid look to show me she understands. She pries her fingers off the guide's staff. I take a few reluctant steps away, lingering for a moment, as I give the guide one last parting look before dashing full force with the two I need to
Do you know
protect.
which way to go? Can you run?
He nods confidently at me.
Yes,
Then he grows sheepishly and hastily adds,
to both.
I look at him, filled with the strangest, strongest rush of emotions I have ever expected. Our eyes meet for a second, and with that, one thought rises above all the rest. We will be here for each other no matter what.
Then lead the way.
With little time to process it all, the three of us sprint over the bridges in a race against time as the fire continues to ravage approach. Alongside the crackling of flames is the returning voices of the Nixie. They are growing louder and clearer than ever before. As we run, I see many of them keep pace with us, swimming alongside the bridge's edges. One of them shoots a jaunt limb out of the water and latches onto Lou's leg. He stumbles and starts falling forward. I react fast enough to grab onto the back of his shirt, which gives him enough support to remain standing. Lou struggles badly with the creature, trying to kick it off. As he wrestles against its grip, Nixie mutters something to Lou. Its foreign words, a low clicking, vibrates in my feet before suddenly jumping so high and harsh it makes me grit my teeth. Lou shouts back, his voice retorting with the same inhuman sounds I've been hearing all night, his words just as indecipherable as the Nix. I have little idea what is being said, however. The way Lou is aggressively shaking his head, the Nix, it can only be terrible. I work to help Lou free himself. I need to get him away. I lean in as I stifle a gasp. The hold the Nix has on him so deep it drags sinewy bits into view as feverishly struggles against it. I hear a gurgle as before white liquid rushes from his lacerations, simultaneously spurting and pooling into the wound beneath him. Lou's pure white blood flows over the side of the bridge and bleaches the black of the water as he thrashes even more violently. I hear the horrible, drawn-out rip of dozens of flesh layers tearing in two.
Lou!
Even though I know it's futile, I cannot stop myself from shrieking his name as his foot is ripped slower than I'd wish on my worst enemy. His gel-like skin shreds agonizingly into jagged line. The Nixie claws get caught in something that Lou's white drenched heel peels away enough to dangle down from his leg. Despite the incredible amount of damage being done, the Nixie still refused to unhand him. I get even closer, considered taking out my sword. I fear it won't be much use, but I am willing to try anything at this point. Then Lou does the impossible. Manages to give a small smile.
It's okay. I don't need it.
He bends down to the Nyx, locked like a ball and chain onto his leg. Lou's fingers suddenly bend straight down, flat against his hand. I shudder and pulse until his fingers contort into narrow black appendages that glisten in firelight, with soggy, grinding claws curling out from under his coal-colored skin. Without a moment's hesitation, he slashes the mutilated remains of his foot. His claws ring clean through, and the foot severs. It slides off with little resistance, ripping away the rest of his leg, with nothing but rope's discolored flesh. Soon even those snap completely. The Nyx fall into the water with mangled extremely still, clutched tight, who didn't give time to grab hold of anything else. A broken, incredulous grasp escapes me. Lou stands tall as he can muster on his own now, uneven legs wobbling slightly as he shifts weight off his blood-drenched stub.
We have to keep going. I can still run. This won't be a problem.
Oh my god, he's a Nyx. Like his hand before, the fleshy stump of an ankle contorts before, stretching a thick, milky substance between solid and liquid unfold from it, warping into a sort of peg leg. Oh my gosh, this man is shape-shifting before our eyes. I can't keep from rocking. Margaret is gaping as well. Lou doesn't pay either of our reactions any mind, beckoning us forward. He pushes down the bridge once more. I snap out of my stupor and jostle Margaret out of hers. She blinks a few times before coming to. We both start running after Lou. I continue seeing glimpses of movement on the otherwise stagnant lake, but there hasn't been any further attempts to impede us. What Lou did, or what he said to the Nixie, must have them on guard. With no grasping appendages reaching for us, we fly across the bridge and don't stop until the fire is far behind us. Twice, Margaret slows down from exhaustion, but I shoot her a pleading, encouraging look, and that is all it takes for her to find the will to keep going. Lou never slows or falters, despite all common sense. Throughout the mist, the faint silhouette of the shore comes into view. Despite the end finally being in sight, I refuse to let hope enter my mind. I thought I understood what I needed to, but I clearly don't know anything about what resides in this lake or what it is capable of. After exerting our bodies nearly to the limits, we arrive at a dead end. Lou gapes, and my heart sank, looks at him through ragged breath.
Is there another path?
Lou teeters towards the edge of the bridge, looking shocked. Then panic overtakes his face.
I don't know. I don't know what I thought. I've never remembered these bridges. I've never done anything right.
His sunken shoulders and despondent voice tell me he lost his spirit.
It's possible you took the correct way and it sunk. It's not your fault, Lou.
Lou doesn't reply and simply hangs his head at the loss for words. I bite my lip and open my mouth to insist we start looking for another bridge, when a familiar callous voice interrupts me.
You are correct. This bridge would have taken you to shore.
I whirp around to see the guide. I am unable to do anything but blink in shock. Margaret looks on in full disbelief.
You're alive!
He sinks in front of us, staring levelly.
The only one who believed that you weren't capable was yourself. But this is the end. Every path to the other side is gone.
Margaret isn't able to do anything except place her hand over her mouth in bewilderment.
So you're...
I can't bear to finish the sentence. He answers regardless.
I am. Lou is not. At least not any longer. He chose his side.
Lou finally turns from the lake to glower directly into the guide's eyes. The guide answers with his usual blank expression.
So you sunk the bridges. Of course. Did you also cause that board to suddenly break under Kika?
Yes.
With admittance, Lou explodes into rage. Now Margaret accompanies Lou in anger, glaring fiercely at the guide herself.
You lied to us!
You were the ones who chose to gamble with your lives. I warned you of what would happen.
Margaret clenched her fists in lividity.
We made our decision based on what we knew of the lake. Information information we got from you, which was lies.
The guide quips back, an irritated quality to his voice.
What you did know as truth was that almost all those who cross Sinlos die. To think he would be an exception was foolish.
Margaret merely snarls at his words.
You can make as many excuses as you want. You're still a heartless murderer. And if you control the bridges, you could have killed us at any time. But instead, you've gone through this entire charade like it's some sort of game.
Everything we have relies on this game. My role in it is to act as a human guide. I cannot stop or take the easy option simply because I personally think that might be nice. We have to be committed if we want to survive.
He releases his anger before continuing on.
And that is not all. You may not believe this, considering your situation, but no one here enjoys looking upon the faces of individuals and picking who will get to see the other shore and who will be killed. Instead, we usually leave each traveler's fate in their own hands. Follow my guidance, don't make mistakes, and you should survive. I would not have needed to tip the scales if everyone here played their part.
The guide's insinuation on who to blame is clear. Margaret turns to face Lou and narrows her eyes accusatorily at him.
While we were on the island, you helped the guide when he was in a position he couldn't easily sneak out of. Why would you do anything for him, knowing what you knew?
Her voice rises.
Why weren't you using your informed position to help us from the start if you actually cared?
I didn't do it for him. I did it because I was worried Kika might get involved. And I obviously can't even help myself. How can you think I might have been able to do something for you?
The guide pointedly interjects.
No one should have gotten involved with that. I intended to let myself be injured to reaffirm my humanity. Unlike Lou, I am capable of disguising even the color of my blood.
Margaret still seems firmly suspicious of Lou, while he looked defensive. I watched these exchanges unfold intently. I can understand why they are so crushed over this, and why Margaret is searching for more lies. It's hard to trust much after this. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, remember to hit like. That way I know you're enjoying the videos I'm making. Remember to subscribe. That way YouTube brings you back here to see what's next, and I won't take up any more of your time. Have a good day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.